how's it going, everyone? I have a different video for you today. This is just, I guess, just for my own benefit, but maybe someone will find this interesting. Um, as many of you know, I've been working two jobs. I've been doing the life insurance thing, and I also have a job that I work in home health care. Particularly, I work with people with developmental disabilities and different learning challenges. Um, and today was my last day at that job. So I've been in this line of work consistently at the house that I was at. Hey, what's up, Joe? I've been at the same house, basically with the same person, for about 9 years. But I've been in this field even before that for around 12 years. And this will probably be my last day. I just finished up my last day probably working in this field. And so I wanted to just give some thoughts on this line of work and, just in general what I think about it and what it's meant to me. I just want to let people know from the outset it's really been a tough day for me, an emotional day, as I'll explain why. But for various reasons, some of which are legal reasons and others just are being respectful, I'm not going to say the names of any of the people I worked with or anything like that. That's kind of their medical story, and it's not for me to discuss. So if you're someone who's watching that knows me and happens to know the name of some of the people I worked with, please, please, please do not put that in the chat, because that's their privacy. And I won't be talking about specific medical situations or anything like that. Hey, thanks for joining me, everyone. But I guess I'll start off talking why it's hard. I've left jobs before. This was how the job that I worked at worked. It'll be someone with a developmental disability, and you basically get hired to work at their house. And usually you work what's called a block shift, which is you're there 24/7. Usually there's 3 of you that work in a house, or if they need double staffed, 6 of you that would work there. My particular block, it changed in the 9 years that I was there, but Sunday nights I would go in, and then I was there 24/7. Now, I don't get paid for my sleep shift and downtime and stuff like that, but I'd be there 24/7 until I left Wednesday afternoon. When there was only 2 of us, I'd be there 24/7, go in Sunday night, and then not leave until Thursday evening. And primarily you're working with one person, though you might do overtime at different houses. That's bar none, a third of, at the bare minimum, that's a third of your life every week. You're literally there 24/7 from 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock Sunday night until Wednesday at 2 or 3. So that's a third of your life. When you spend 9 years working with one person, at least a third of your life, and many times, many, many, many months throughout there, more than that. There would be days, 10, 12 days, I wouldn't get to come home. I would be working with my person. You spend that much time with someone and you're going to develop a relationship, and it makes it really, really, really hard to leave because it's part of your family. The person that I worked with that I left today, I had worked with 1 year less than I've known my wife. That's how important to me this person was. So it's tough. I had to leave for financial reasons because I'm the type of person, my mom used to pick on me all the time. I don't really care about money. Like, I would have been happy living my life on a friend's couch my whole life, eating whatever I could get my hands on, garbage, cheap food, So I was never someone that needed like fancy cars, things like that. I could care less. But life situations change. So once I met my wife, then it was like, oh yeah, money's a little more important. And then for those of you that follow me on my channel know that I found out that for the first time in my life, I'm going to be a dad come January. So that kind of lit a fire under me that all of a sudden I need to make more money. And that led me down the path of having to seek alternate employment. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing. So I just thought I would give some of my thoughts on that line of work because I probably won't be doing it again. So to start with, let me talk about the good in that line of work. I'm someone that, let me just talk about my history and how I got involved in this, I guess. So from the time I was like 19, I could say, and I don't feel bad saying this because it's the truth, I was a drunk. I, even before I was 21, I drank a ton. Once I was 21, I was at the bar all the time. Any extra money I had from the jobs I had, and I had time off school, I was at the bar. It took me a long time. I could sit here and tell you about how, oh, I had personal situations in my life that made graduating college in 4 years difficult. But the truth is, I was partying all the time. That's the truth. And the truth is, I had friends that entered college with me or right around with me that are making way more money than me because they didn't party all the time and they went out and did the right thing. So it's my fault. Now, I don't regret a lot because through that situation, I met the people I did. And if I would have moved on after 4 years of college, like at the age of 21 or 22, I may have never met my wife, which I'm very happy to have met her. I have a very good life. Anyways, not to get too deep into this, but that's just who I was. And then I was on the debate team and I debated, and then once I was out of eligibility debating, I became an assistant debate coach. For reasons of just that the job wasn't being offered much anymore, plus the state budget didn't pass. This is like 2007, 2008, something like that. I basically lost my job and as a debate coach and needed money. And so I pick up a newspaper, and I lived in my whole life. I've lived in Clarion County here, rural county in Pennsylvania. And I just start all the jobs in the newspaper. I'm just like, I'm going to put my name in at every one. I don't care. I don't care what I do. So it was like security guard, working fast food, etc. I didn't care. One of the ones I put in was to work for this home health care agency that was located in Clarion. And to my shock, they called me back immediately. Now, what qualifications do I have to work with someone like that? I'm just basically a drunk. But I went to the trainings and everything, and they were like, yeah, we'll hire you. And so they did, and I worked at that company for some years, and then ultimately transitioned about 9 years ago to the company that I'm at now. In between then, I worked as a bartender, kind of sometimes volunteering just for tips, other times, paid. I did some other things. But for probably the past 13 years of my life, my primary employment's been in home health care. And I fell in love with it, which was shocking to me because if you would have told me when I was 20, like, yeah, you're going to really like taking care of people with disabilities, I'd have been like, what? What are you talking about? That's not something that I think I would have had an interest in. But I did. And from the very beginning, again, I won't talk about a lot of specific situations because of medical privacy, but I was placed in very challenging homes where I was physically endangered a lot. And as a bigger guy, I was like, well, I get it. I get why you'd put someone like me there. And even in those places where you were in constant danger, there was something about the field that I liked. And so what I could say about it is, the idea is this. And we had a situation with people that, had certain illnesses or something, certain learning disabilities and stuff. We used to kind of have a theory that as a culture that we would put people in kind of these big facilities. The one around here was called Polk, which was a big mental health facility. And there are horror stories about it. You can still watch scary movies that are about, a mental hospital or, the people that were in there. And there are real life horror stories that you could hear from places like that. Now, not all of it was because the people were malicious, but we lived in such a society where we discarded people we didn't know what to do with. You would find yourself in these facilities where you would have, for every one staff, there might be 10 clients, some of them with a lot of very serious issues that made them very violent and danger to themselves, to the staff, and to the other clients. And so because of those situations, you ended up in these facilities that you were very impersonal and you were very much, it was almost like a jail. And I think it's one of the greatest things we've done in society to realize that it's not fair to people to put them in that sort of situation just because they have certain mental disabilities that other people don't have. And so I believe, I'm not someone who's like some sort of hippy-dippy person. Hey, what's up, Paul? I'm not some sort of hippy-dippy person that's like, no one should ever be in jail or no one should ever be in a facility. I'm not saying that, but I do believe that we should give people the maximum freedom that allows them to have the best possible quality of life. There are certain things that we have to take freedom away. Obviously, breaking the law and stuff, that's different. I'm not talking about that. But there are certain people with certain conditions where the best solution would be everyone to have their own place, and to be able to support themselves. But clearly, we have to sometimes, because of people's conditions, you have to help them out in different ways. And so, we should give maximum afforded freedom to people. That's what I really believe. Uh, so, let me see. Yeah, it is scary, Paul. Thank you so much. So, I saw in my line of work things that are some of the most amazing things you'd ever see. Um, People that society had written off. Because keep in mind, like, if you work with someone in this line of work who's 50, say, or 60, or even 40, like we didn't know what to do back in the day. Maybe that person was 12 years old and they were in school, and it was just like, oh, they're falling behind in school. But we didn't, as a society, know exactly what to diagnose them with. And oftentimes we just said we just need to isolate them and put them somewhere else. And so when you see people like that, then you'll, and I'm speaking in hypotheticals, I'm not speaking in specifics here, but you might agree to work at a home, and they'll give you kind of a chart, it's called like an ISP, but it's kind of the story, the medical history of this person, and it's scary. Like, you'll read things about, and this again is hypothetical, but you could potentially read not just illnesses, but police reports, injuries that occurred to other staff that worked with these people. And so you get this picture in your head before you even meet someone in person. Every worst day that they had in their life is on a piece of paper that then prospective people that are going to work with this person get to see. Like, imagine if that was you. Imagine that anytime someone was going to come work with you or come to visit you, all of your worst moments were on a file for everyone to look at before they even meet you. So you don't get to explain yourself. But you understand why you have to do that, for safety reasons and things like that. There are people that I work with. So the situation is this. Instead of being in these facilities, we have, through nonprofit organizations and government money and things like that, we've taken people and give them their own apartment. And then you have living staff that rotate, that come in with them. And you wouldn't believe how therapeutic this is for some people. Just the difference that it could make in their lives. You could be reading these reports and read, oh, 20 years ago, this was a person that was, considered extremely violent, or, was self-injurious and things like that didn't have friends, didn't want to talk to people, sometimes even nonverbal. And then you meet these people after 20 years of living in their own place with staff that are good, and they're some of the most amazing, thoughtful, friendly people you'd ever meet. You can't even believe that the incidents that you read are reality, because the person that you're talking to, that you're seeing every day, is 180 degrees different than the person that you're reading these files about. And think about it. What would happen if you were put in a facility? How would your life have been different? If for 20 years as an adult, you were basically in a jail for nothing. You didn't do anything wrong. You're just there because you had different mental capacity. You had an illness. And so it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And understand that, if you were in one of these facilities, maybe your roommate was maybe in a different place than you, and they were engaged in violence more often. So that forced you to protect yourself to engage in violence more often. And then you get labeled as such. So some of the people I've personally worked with, clients that I've worked with, it's amazing. I cannot believe how it was the first job in my life, and jobs I had was like bartender, cook, I used to work at a Goodwill center doing clothes donations, assistant debate coach. It was the first job in my life where I would go home at night and feel like, hey, what's up, Frank? Thanks so much. You're incredibly generous. You really are, Frank. Thank you. But it was the first job in my life where I would come home and I was like, I think I'm making a difference in someone's life. And I had no qualifications. It was basically like you got trained how to give medication, how to fill out paperwork, and other than that, it was just like, be yourself and be someone that this person can rely on. And I quickly found that, like, it was amazing that I felt like, hey, I hope I'm making a difference. So I love the line of work. I also met coworkers that were some of the greatest people with the biggest hearts that you'd ever meet. But there are problems in this line of work. There's an incredible waste of money that I see it as. you would end up, and it depends on the company, and I'm not talking about any company in specific, but due to bureaucracy, you would have things like your person wants a basketball, but you can't. They have to spend their own money to get a basketball, $5. The companies wouldn't buy the basketball, but they charter a boat for you to go fishing, or they'll put you up in an apartment that's $1,200 a month when your person would be more than happy with a $600 a month apartment. Just the bureaucracy of stuff, it was crazy, and that often leads to facilities that aren't properly equipped to take care of people trying to do so because they want that government money, and that could lead to injuries and a lowered quality of life and more what's the word I'm looking for? More likely to be involved with law enforcement, like criminal nature things going on, which is one of the reasons, I think that I have a lot to add in this discussion of should we replace cops with social workers. I, in effect, was some sort of social worker, and I can tell you right now, no. I've seen situations that I was instructed to run. That's what I would be instructed because they were so incredibly violent. Now, having said that, I think that we do need to train police better to deal with people with disabilities. So, it is what it is. That's a discussion for another day. But so yeah, there's certainly an incentive, just like with COVID or something like that. Once there's this big pool of government money, there's an incentive for companies to say, yeah, give us that money. We'll work it out later. And sometimes that could lead to bad things. We'll see you public citizen things. But, that's the case anytime you get the government involved in things. Having said that, money can be kind of frivolously spent. People in this line of work are criminally underpaid, and not just me. I mean, at every level. I was a direct care worker. I worked directly in the house. I had supervisors that were in charge of the house and timesheets and stuff like that, and then supervisors that would be in charge of like medications, doctor's appointments. They're finance people. They're nurses, all sorts of people, and it's the healthcare field is just, it doesn't pay, and because of that, you lose good people. And so my experience, and I know this isn't in totality, but this is my honest reaction as someone who's just leaving this line of work today, is this. I have met a huge group of people in this line of work that I would not let watch my goldfish. And they're taking care of people's sons and daughters and mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles, cousins. There were times when I would work at certain houses where I'd be afraid to leave because the person that was coming in after me, I didn't trust. Now think about that. Think that you've worked with someone like I did for 9 years, and they're basically a part of your family, and you're afraid to leave work because you don't know if that person that's coming in is going to adequately take care of the person. But that's what happens when you pay so little money. There's no qualifications. The pay's garbage. And so there's basically only two types of people you get. People that this is just a stepping stone job for them. And many of them, they don't care. It's just about a paycheck. And then you get people like me that, I had a master's degree. And I'm basically, I tell people on my show all the time, I'd never made more than $15 an hour until this year. And I was barely making more than $15 an hour. And I have a master's degree. I know people with high school educations that started off jobs making $18 an hour. But I didn't really care about money, and I absolutely adored the person I worked with. So you get people that stick around because they feel like I have a connection to these individuals I'm taking care of. And by the way, it's very similar with nursing home care. There are great, fantastic people that work in nursing homes, and they're criminally underpaid. And when you talk to them, like, why do you stick in a job like this? They'd say, because I care about the people I work with. But then there's a bunch of bad people that work in nursing homes because we barely pay any money to those people. So you're not going to attract good employees. Thank you, Raggedy Man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and that's true. That's nursing. The same's true in what we do with the home health care. Some of the company, I will say this, I'm not going to say the name of the company I worked for, but I actually thought they were a good company. I thought that they did a pretty good job. I have known of other companies though that aren't good, that are despicable. So it depends on the quality. You could, even in a despicable company, you could have a good house. Basically, the day-to-day operations ran by the three people: the person that's working Sunday, Monday, half Tuesday, the person that's working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the person that's working Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Those three people that are in the house, they're basically running the house. So if you get three good people, great. Even in a bad company, things are going well. But yeah, I saw people that weren't good. And I honestly someday might write a book about some of the stories. Again, I won't be able to use real names or anything like that. But I can tell you, I've seen terrible people in this field from the bottom, from my role, which was the home healthcare, to terrible supervisors, terrible finance people, terrible like CEOs. You have to understand too, when you're in a company like this, there are people from the state that are routinely, usually once a year, coming to check up on the houses. And then you have other people like at the county level that are checking in on you. I've seen bad people at the county level. I've seen terrible doctors. Terrible. I could tell you horror stories of, you know, watching people that are supposedly Let me just put it this way. At one point when I first got into this field, within 7 months, I found myself in a situation where police were involved, where we had a situation where someone that I was charged with taking care of was handcuffed in an emergency room, and I spent 2 days at that nursing home, or at that emergency room, unshowered, as a girl from the county, who was her second week of work, crying her eyes out, called every facility in the state asking if they could take this person. I watched the police scream at me. I watched doctors scream at me and her and cuss us out because they wanted nothing to do with this person because of the specific challenges that came with that person. And it was really a low point where I started to think, like, 7 months into that job, I looked around me, people I worked with, people at that company, doctors, and I started to realize I'm a drunk. I'm an alcoholic, basically. Why am I the only person that, in the world, I'm the only person that cares about this person I'm taking care of? Literally. It's not an exaggeration. There was no family. And it's a sobering thought when I'm not a good person. Like, as a drunk. Why was it up to me? You know? And, you know, I think back, how many tragedies are there like that? Where, I don't know. But it's tough. It's a tough line of work. It's not physically demanding. It's emotionally demanding. Yes, Joe. There are people that are extremely violent. I was hospitalized several times with some of the people I took care of. I was probably involved in being physically attacked a dozen times in my field. So yeah, it definitely could get dangerous. But yeah, it was, you know, it's something. There's a lot to talk about the field. I think it's worth it. I think that everyone has this cliche. It's like, if you teach, or like I was a coach, debate coach, or if you're a teacher or anything like that, you're like, oh, I learn more from the people I'm teaching than, you know. And I know that's a cliche, but I honestly feel that that's true. I didn't know anything about people with autism, people with different mental challenges, diagnoses. I didn't know nothing about that. Nothing. And it is amazing the perspective that my life's changed working with them. One, I got, you know, it's someone who would consider myself closer to a libertarian. Maybe entering that field, I would say, well, should we be spending tax dollars on something like this? You know? And I think definitely the answer is yes. Now, can we spend less? Can we spend, more important than spend more or less, we could definitely spend smarter. Definitely. But it is worthwhile. We as a society should be doing our best to maximize the potential of people that maybe think differently. And I'd be happy to debate people, particularly on the right, that maybe would disagree, that think that it should all be done through charity. But that's something that changed my perspective on that. But even more than that, and it also changed my perspective on seeing government bureaucracy and how terrible that could be. But even more than that, just the people, the line of work aside, the people that I took care of that had these disabilities, it's amazing to me. Like, you want to know almost universally, and I mean this, almost universally, every single person that I've worked with, these clients, again, dozens, almost every single one I could say. I can't say every single one. You know what they wanted? A job, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, friends. That's it. They want to be the stuff we take for granted every single day. That's what they want. And, you know, when you talk to someone, it's like, all I want's a job. That's it. I want a job. Then I look over and I see people that don't have these challenges, and all they want to do is not work. All they want to do is play the victim every day. The people that I took care of that had some of the most challenging ailments from the beginning of their life, which resulted then in losing family relations, not having friends, being put in a facility, and every day of their life, people that actually could have sat there with this, you know, and you would have been like, yeah, you kind of have been a victim. The last thing they wanted was to be treated as a victim. They just wanted to be treated like a regular person. And I see that, and I'm like, who am I to sit around wallowing, you know, complaining about my life, when you see these people, some of the most amazing people you can imagine, that have had every difficult thing that you could possibly imagine thrown at them. Sometimes not just ailments, sometimes physical or sexual abuse, being institutionalized, you know. Some people, if you have certain forms of autism, little things like lights or the car siren or car horns and stuff like that could be like nails on a chalkboard. And those people are some of the most upbeat. They just want to be treated like a regular person. And then you go to the general society, you go to academia, you go to somewhere like Yale and Harvard, where these people are some of the most privileged people in the history of the world, and all they want to do is talk about how they're victims. It's mind-blowing. That affected me, because while I'm doing this, I got my graduate degree while I was working here. And so you work all week, you know, you work a third of the week with someone with a disability who has that mindset that I'm talking about. And then you get onto your online class for grad school and just hear, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. How can you be a bigger victim? It blew my mind. You know, another thing, a lot of people, and again, there's no universal truths. There will always be people that don't, you know, that's life. There are labels that we could put on people, but you don't neatly fit into that box, obviously. So I'm not saying, oh, every single person, you know, that has a disability wants a job. That's not what I'm saying. But overarchingly, that's what I saw. You know, another thing that I could say is the ability of the incredible intelligence and observational skills of some of the people I took care of that had disabilities still to this day blows my mind. And I'm not just talking about things like being super gifted with numbers, which a lot of people are with autism, but things like you get a new staff, and I think I'm a good judge of character, and I'd be like, okay, this person seems all right. But almost intuitively, the person I work with knows this isn't going to be a good fit. There were times, like, I remember one time I got a ticket, and it's a big, long story, but it was just, here's what it was. In Pennsylvania, if you don't pay your car insurance company sends a notice to the state of Pennsylvania, which then cancels your license plate. Well, I had moved, and they were sending mail to my previous address saying that my license plate had been canceled. Now, it's not that I didn't pay my insurance. I had been paying my insurance, but I switched from sending a check to direct deposit. Well, 3 days after this, my insurance place called and said, we tried to take your money out and it didn't come out. Here they had placed the wrong routing number. And so I gave them the routing number and they took the money out. Well, unbeknownst to me, just that being 3 days late because of a simple mistake, they had contacted the state of Pennsylvania, who had proceeded to send letters to my old address for 5-6 months. I get pulled over at a stop sign one day and the cop tells me that my license plate's suspended. And I was like, what? Long story short, I was just like, whatever. It was like $100 fine. But I asked the people at the magistrate's office, this isn't going to put points on my license because I need to be able to drive for work. They said, no. 2 weeks later, I get a notice in the mail, send in your driver's license and your plate. My license were suspended for 3 months. So I was going to lose my job. So I'm having this big knockout drag, fight with the magistrate and with the state of Pennsylvania. Ultimately, it was resolved. I had to pay $300 to challenge it in court. And it took about 10 seconds where the judge was like, yeah, clearly you paid this. Clearly it was just an oversight. No problem. Out the door I went. Cost me $300, but whatever. Anyways, I go to work in the middle of dealing with this, and I'm in there, and within 10 minutes I'm on the phone. And I left the room because... Okay, I don't know what that's about. And by the way, this is a problem I'm going to have to deal with here. I don't know why, but my Wi-Fi at home just periodically goes off. So I apologize that went down for a minute. Can anyone tell me if they could see me again? I would appreciate it if you could do that. So if it came back on and anyone sees this, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll finish up here. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why it does that sometimes. But, yeah. Anyways, I was just saying, it's tough. The guy I worked with is special to me, and it's going to be hard for me to even go visit because there are certain rules about, staff that leaves, being able to keep friendships with clients. So, hopefully that works out, and I think that I'll still be able to visit that person. But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little about that. Now, what does that mean for my channel? Good news for people that like hearing me, I think, because now that I'll be just doing one job and I'll be home every night, that gives me more of an opportunity to do sort of some late night streams. It's scary though, because I'm leaving a guaranteed paycheck to now I'm selling life insurance. And with the selling of life insurance, I only make money based on commission. So if you or anyone you know needs life insurance, let me know. We also have other things, free things that I could set you up with, like child safety kits. Even if you can't buy life insurance, if you just want to talk about it, because it's something that you would want to decide later, and you have people you could refer me to, I would appreciate that. So, hey, what's up, Pat? But neither here nor there. But, so I'll be around more to do the channel, which means because I'm going to be home every night, and my schedule is going to be more defined, I will be able to have consistent video times every week, like Monday night at 8 o'clock, Wednesday at 8 o'clock. We'll see, and I'll talk to you all as an audience to see what makes sense for what type of content you would like to see. Do you want to see it geared towards more having guests on, or geared towards more debates, or geared towards less live streams and more short form videos? Whatever my audience decides on, I'd be happy to try to do what people think would be best. And it'll be more consistent times to hopefully try to grow my channel. So in that sense, it'll be good for my channel, and which is good, I guess, coming into this election, because I'm trying to do everything I can to kind of point out the importance of this election to people, and why we need to vote this Democratic Party out. But yeah, I just thought I would do a little stream. If you're thinking of getting into the home healthcare field, it's one of the most rewarding things you could imagine. If it's something you're interested in, it's not for everyone. It's really not. I mean, can you take someone punching you in the jaw and not responding? Because that happens. But if you could get through the challenges of it, it's very rewarding. Just know you won't make a lot of money. You'll be underpaid significantly. But I wouldn't have changed it for the world. If I didn't have a baby coming, there's no way I would have left. In fact, I had an opportunity to leave to work for Trump's campaign, although I may have done that, but it would have been temporary, and then I would have went back to work, and the Trump campaign wanted me to get rid of social media, and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So Yeah, I don't know what the problem is, Paul. I'm gonna call my internet people and see what's going on. Yeah, it's a tough field, and if I could just say a plea to this, it's a total different thing. But I've seen Tucker have a guest on a couple times here in the past couple months talking about nursing homes in particular. What I did wasn't a nursing home, but it's similar. You know, you could make a difference in your life. Just volunteer. Go talk to some elderly people in a nursing home. It could make a huge difference. See if you could volunteer for like the Special Olympics or, places locally you might have that help with people with disabilities. Because just being a friend, just someone that, once a month for an hour or 2 hours just stops and visits someone and just treats someone like, you know, one of the things I say in my show all the time, it's the most important thing to my show. Like when I talk to Carlos and Todd that I do the radio show with, or if I'm talking to SJG or Let's Be Frank or Drone Tech, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm not, I'd like to be the funniest, but I don't think I got that. There is nothing that I do the best in the world. Nothing. But the one thing that I have is I'm me. I'm authentic. I will say whatever I want. I don't make a lot of money. I don't have a huge amount of subscribers. I have the freedom to say whatever I want. What you see with me on my channel is who I am. I'm not a person that does this channel and then leaves and I'm a totally different person. I might swear less on this channel, but that's it. That authenticity is the most important thing to me. And that, I learned that through this line of work. If you're dealing with people that, don't treat them like a child. You are you. And that's the best way to be. And the people are so perceptive that are used to having people be fake in front of them. How are you today? Oh, that's great. No, that's not life. That's not how people just wanted to be treated normally. So if you are going to volunteer, you don't have to be something great. I was a drunk when I got into this line of work. And I still think I made a difference. So, if you're going to volunteer, if you get in this line of work, if I could give one piece of advice, it's just be yourself. Care about the person you're with and just be yourself. That's it. So, all right, I'll be heading off here. But I do really appreciate it. It's a tough day for me, so it was good to talk about it, even if it's not my normal political stuff. Plans I have for videos, I'll probably be taking it easy this weekend. And then come Monday, for the next 2 weeks, I'll be training to do the life insurance stuff. So I'll be actually at a physical office for those 2 weeks. At least 8 hours a day. And then after that, I'll be able to work from home more and just be making calls and things like that. So if I'm doing content, it'll probably be like 7, 8 o'clock at night. I'm supposed to be doing a debate with my friend Drone Tech versus two people on whether or not the Russia investigation was a coup or if it was legitimate, etc., etc. So that's supposedly happening sometime next week. I'll do my radio show on Saturday. But I'll be reaching out to my audience to kind of get some feedback onto what nights and what times do they think my show would work best. If I'm going to do 2 live streams a week plus the radio show, what nights would be best for that? What type of content would you want on that? Things like that. So thank you so much for listening to someone, just talking about feeling bad that they left their job today. I really appreciate it. You guys are the best. I appreciate any donations. Thank you so much to Frank that donated. If you donated on D-Live or Twitch, I couldn't see, but thank you to them, to anyone who did. Please consider liking and subscribing and sharing my content with anyone that you would want. I really appreciate it. So thanks so much, everyone. I appreciate it. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And as always, have a good one.